I didn't cry at Daniel's funeral. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because I didn't know what to feel. The rain drummed steadily against the black umbrellas, each drop like a heartbeat in the silence that hung between mourners. My wife, Claire, stood beside me, clutching a white rose with trembling fingers. Her mascara had run down her cheeks, streaking her pale skin. To anyone watching, she looked like a grieving colleague, or perhaps a friend who'd lost someone dear. But I knew better. The way she stared at Daniel's casket wasn't mourning. It was something else. Guilt maybe. Regret. When the priest said, "May he rest in peace," Claire whispered under her breath, "He finally will." That's when my stomach twisted. Because a week ago I'd read something I wasn't supposed to. Daniel Harper, the CEO of Harper & Chase Industries, was more than just my boss, he was a mentor. He took me under his wing when I was still green in the corporate world. He used to joke that I reminded him of himself 20 years ago. We worked side by side for years, and I admired him more than I'd ever admit. And Claire, my wife, had worked as his executive assistant for nearly a decade. That's how we met, actually. Daniel introduced us at a charity gala. "Ethan, meet Claire," he'd said with that familiar grin. "She's the only reason this company doesn't collapse under my bad handwriting." Claire had laughed, shaking my hand. I remember thinking she had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. Now, watching her at Daniel's funeral, I couldn't recognize the woman standing beside me. It started 2 weeks before Daniel died. He'd been ill for months, pancreatic cancer, and though the company knew the end was near, no one expected it so suddenly. I'd been working late that night when I got an email notification on my office computer. Subject: Draft personal letter to Claire. It was from Daniel's personal account, sent mistakenly to me. My heart stuttered. I almost deleted it out of respect. But curiosity got the better of me. The first line shattered something deep inside me. "My darling Claire, I know our time is running out. I've made arrangements to ensure you'll be taken care of, even after I'm gone." I stopped reading. I wanted to believe it was something else, some affectionate but harmless expression of friendship. But as my eyes scanned the rest of the message, denial became impossible. He wrote about our years together, about our love that had to stay in the shadows. And then the line that burned itself into my memory. "If only Ethan hadn't come along, maybe things would have been different." I remember sitting there in my office chair, staring at the glowing screen. My mind was blank. I wanted to throw the monitor across the room. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat there until dawn staring at those words. The next morning, I confronted Claire. "Did you love him?" I asked quietly, my voice barely holding steady. Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I found the email," I said. "Daniel. You and him." Her lips parted. She didn't deny it. Instead, she said softly, "Ethan, you have to understand, it was complicated." "Complicated?" I snapped. "You were sleeping with my boss." Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't like that. It happened years ago, before you and I were married. But it never really stopped. Not until he got sick." She sobbed, covering her face. "I ended it, Ethan. I swear I did. He was dying, and I couldn't abandon him like that." I remember just standing there, my whole world tilting sideways. After the funeral, I planned to leave her. I'd even packed a suitcase. But then Daniel's lawyer called. "Mr. Langford," he said, his tone cautious. "You should come in. There's something in Daniel's will you need to see." I almost told him I didn't care. But something in his voice made me go. In the conference room, the lawyer handed me a sealed envelope. "Mr. Harper made a private amendment to his will 3 days before his passing. It concerns you." Inside was a letter, handwritten. "Ethan, you were the best employee I ever had, and the only man I truly respected. I made many mistakes in my life. One of them involved your wife. You deserved better. Maybe this will help you find closure. I'm leaving you my 71% controlling stake in Harper & Chase Industries. Use it well. Don't let the company die because of my sins." I couldn't breathe. Daniel, the man who betrayed me, had just handed me the entire company. When I got home, Claire was in the kitchen sipping wine. She looked up and smiled faintly. "How did it go?" I stared at her for a long moment. "He left me something." "Oh," she asked, setting down her glass. "What?" 71% of the company. Her smile faltered. What? I repeated it. Slowly. Her eyes darted back and forth as she processed the words. That doesn't make sense. He wouldn't. I mean, why would he? Maybe guilt, I interrupted. Maybe he finally wanted to do one decent thing before he died. Claire's expression shifted. Something dark flickered behind her eyes, something like fear. She tried to laugh it off. That can't be right. I mean, the board, his family. There's no mistake, I said flatly. His lawyer confirmed it. For the first time since I'd known her, Claire looked truly cornered. Ethan, listen. You can't just take it. People will talk. Let them, I said. Her voice dropped. You don't understand how dangerous this is. Dangerous? I asked. Why? Because now I know how much you were counting on his money. She flinched. That's not fair. I leaned closer. Was it fair when you lied to me for years? She didn't answer. The days leading up to the board meeting were a blur. I buried myself in files, contracts, transition documents. Every time I saw Daniel's name, something inside me twisted. The board assumed the company would pass to Daniel's nephew, Brandon. A smug, arrogant man who'd been licking his chops for months. When word leaked that the majority stake had gone to me, the tension skyrocketed. But Claire's behavior grew stranger by the day. She'd wake up in the middle of the night, pacing the hallway. Her phone would buzz with messages she hid from me. I caught her once in the study, whispering into the receiver. When I walked in, she hung up. Who was that? I asked. She smiled too quickly. Just an old colleague. I didn't press further. I was waiting. Watching. The morning of the board meeting, I dressed in a tailored black suit Daniel had once gifted me. The irony wasn't lost on me. When I entered the boardroom, every head turned. Claire was already there, seated beside Brandon, who looked ready to explode. Mr. Langford, one of the board members said coldly, we've all heard about this development. Care to explain how you came to inherit controlling interest? Before I could respond, Brandon slammed a folder on the table. This is a fraud. Daniel would never have given it to him. Claire told me herself that he intended to keep the company in the family. The room went silent. My gaze snapped to Claire. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I smiled bitterly. Really, Claire? You've been busy. Brandon leaned forward, smug. You see, Ethan, she came to me after the funeral. She said you were trying to steal the company. I turned to her. Is that true? Her lips quivered. Ethan, I was scared. I didn't want you to get hurt. Brandon said. I cut her off. The man who's been waiting for Daniel to die so he could take his chair? Brandon rose from his seat, voice hard. You don't belong here, Langford. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out Daniel's signed amendment and the notarized documents. According to this, I do. I handed them to the board's attorney. As he read through the papers, his brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Finally, he looked up. It's legitimate. Brandon's face turned red. This is insane. But the board was already murmuring. They knew the law was on my side. Claire looked at me across the table, her eyes pleading. Ethan, please. You can't do this. Oh, I can, I said quietly. And I will. I stood adjusting my jacket. Effective immediately, Harper & Chase Industries will move forward under new leadership, mine. The room buzzed with whispers. Claire covered her face with her hands. Brandon stormed out. And me? I just stood there, feeling nothing but the hollow echo of victory. That night, Claire tried to talk to me. You got what you wanted, she said bitterly. Are you happy now? I looked at her. The woman who once promised forever. The woman who'd stood beside another man while I built a life for us. No, I said quietly. I didn't want this. I just wanted the truth. Tears filled her eyes. Ethan, please. I made mistakes, but I never stopped loving you. I almost believed her. Almost. But then I remembered the email. The nights she lied. The whispers in the dark. Love doesn't look like betrayal, Claire. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. You already made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I walked to the door, suitcase in hand. She called after me, voice breaking. What are you going to do? I paused. I'm going to run the company he built, and make sure it doesn't rot like the people who ran it. Then I left. A month later, I sat in Daniel's old office, the CEO's chair now mine. The city skyline shimmered beyond the glass. On the desk, Daniel's framed photo of him and Claire still sat face down. I hadn't had the heart to throw it away yet. I opened a drawer and found another sealed envelope, my name written in his bold handwriting. Inside was a single line. "Forgive her if you can." I couldn't. I stared at the words for a long time, feeling the weight of them. Then slowly I folded the letter and locked it away. Some ghosts deserve to rest in silence.